Hi, welcome to the small shed. This week we're back in my wife's workroom. See you in a minute. Now, a couple of weeks ago I put a corner wardrobe into my wife's workroom as the basis for the revised storage that she needed. It just goes to prove that however much you plan and work these things out and you buy the best solution to the problem that you can, it can still turn out to be totally wrong. The wardrobe that we fitted is bigger and has more capacity than some of the alternatives that I looked at, but it's just not practical. You've got a lot of triangular shapes that won't really fit storage particularly well. So whilst it has the volume, it doesn't really have the usable capacity. So we've ripped it out, start again. I was going to reuse the wardrobe in my own workroom when I come to do it, but that'll mean it'll be hanging around in the house for the best part of a year or more. And what I've decided to do instead is basically recycle it. So I'll be using bits of it in all sorts of other things within that workroom. But instead of that, we're now going to put some more Ikea wardrobes in. So that meant the first thing we had to do was hop off back to Ikea. So having loaded up with units at Ikea, I got a couple of 500 wall units. One of them slightly shallower front to back than the others, and I got a 1 metre one. I was going to cut some of these down front to back, but decided that it wasn't really going to gain me a great deal other than an awful lot of work. So I'm leaving them pretty much untouched apart from the height, which you've already seen me cut down on the corner one. And these things are heavy. I loaded them onto the car and I don't quite know how I did it, because when I got home I took them apart in pieces and piece by piece took them off the roof, out of the boxes, and when I got the last box off, which was the big one, I noticed it was 57 kilograms. So it was a bit of a, no wonder I had a struggle getting it on there in the first place. It was certainly much easier once I broke them down on the roof and pulled them back in piece by piece. These were all moved into the conservatory so that I got somewhere to work, and then up in the room itself I'd got a couple of screws protruding from the wall where I'd taken out a boxing, and they'd been screwed in from the other side inside that ducting. So I trimmed those off with the angle grinder and set about fitting the 500mm wide unit that in this case is only 350mm front to back. It leaves about 18mm protruding in front of that wall where the mirror is, but I think I've come up with a solution to deal with that, and that was partly brought about by the need to correct a problem with the duct itself. When they fitted the flue for the log burner downstairs, that boxing was built around the flue, and it's slightly out of square with the wall, and what it means is, you'll see when I finally get that carcass assembled and put it in, it leaves a very slight gap at the front of the wall against the unit, whereas the back of the unit is tucked up tight into the corner. But again, it's nothing we can't get over. It's just the vagaries of the British workman that can't be bothered to use a square on anything, I think. But we got that unit in, roughly levelled up. Right, day 2 progress on the workroom. We've got the wardrobe fitted, ready to go in the alcove permanently, but at the moment it's only mocked up. I've had to move units into that gap where there'll be a new unit made up later on. So that's pretty much that area sorted. I've just temporarily put stuff in there at the moment to get it out of the way. We've taken down the wardrobe in the far corner that wasn't successful. Just about to strip out all of this area of units, pull back the carpet, decided to work off the floor rather than the carpet, and that way then I can get the whole stuff in, mounted, and we can come and recarpet when we've done the decoration. So we'll take this lot out and then we can start and build the new units. The old units are a bit of a collection of all sorts of disparate types. The only real difficult bit was taking out all the old Ikea ones that were still screwed to the wall and the ceiling. And for all those that think Ikea is cheap nasty rubbish that won't last, it might be cheap and nasty, but it does certainly last. That's done us over 20 years. Then we took the carpet up, gripper rod being the bane of my life. It's revolting stuff to work with because it rips your hands to bits, but we took all that up and got the carpet out of the way. Well, I think we've now reached the point of maximum chaos, and hopefully it will get better from here on in. I've got a 500mm unit in my car, but I can't get out because there's no room to put it anywhere. I've got a 1 metre and a 500 in the conservatory, blocking that up. The dining room's full of my wife's sewing because she's using that as her workroom. That's my workroom. This is the landing. That's our bedroom. And this is our main guest bedroom. Now, bearing in mind that today is Friday, I'm going out on Saturday, and on Sunday I've got my daughter, her husband, who are going to sleep in that room, 2 grandchildren who are going to sleep in this room, and we need to childproof the place, so I'll best get a wiggle on. Started off with the 500 wide unit. These are a bit heavier and a bit more difficult to deal with because they're 500 deep instead of 350. As I mentioned earlier, I was going to cut them back to about 400, 450, but it involved so much work in re-drilling holes for shelves and things like that, and it wasn't basically that different to the existing wardrobe, which you can see on the right of it, for depth, so I wasn't losing any more of the room. So we put those in, did the 1 metre one next, and left a gap at the end of something in the region of 250mm for an ironing board and the step ladders so that they're out of the way as well. Put the shelves in just to get all the materials and things back in so that at least we'd got a habitable room. Now the problem is we've got the 2 wardrobes in. I've left a 250mm gap at the end to put the ironing board in, and I've just changed my mind on that. We're going to make it 500 with another full wardrobe, and we'll put the ironing board inside. That way we'll get far more storage. The problem is we had a wardrobe there, which is still there temporarily, and we had some wall units, and the wardrobe was full of junk, and the intention was to move all that junk into the 1 metre wide wardrobe. That wardrobe is about twice the size of that one. So we took all the stuff out of that, put it into there, and by some miraculous event, and I don't know what it is, it's now full of stuff again. So I've somehow got to find another load of storage for that. I think what's happening is that as the room has become tidied up, a lot of stuff that was stacked in boxes has now been put into there. We've put the sewing machine in that was spare, that was on the floor, one or two things like that. But given that I've put in a 1 metre wardrobe and two 500s at the moment, just to replace an 800 wide wardrobe that wasn't floor to ceiling, slightly puzzling. Something to do with the TARDIS, I think. There is one other thing to look at, and that is the area where the flue runs from the fire downstairs. Now I was going to just stud that out and wallpaper it. What I've decided to do, the wall is slightly out of level front to back, and therefore it leaves a gap at the side. What I'm going to do is to put blockboard in, or MDF 18mm thick, that will fill that gap, and then I'm going to get a 500 wide wardrobe door in glass, which is the width we've got there. It is exactly 500, and make that look like another wardrobe next to that one with a glass door on it that's got a mirror on it, and then there'll be a makeup panel over the top just to make up for the difference in height, and at the bottom I'll just make up this out of spares I've got to make it look like the bottom of the wardrobe. But that's for the next visit in here. I've got to make a unit to fit in here underneath to take all that fabric that's in this cupboard, and then I can get rid of those units that have got things in that shouldn't be in here anyway. So that's the next job on the horizon. I hope you'll bear with me on this one. It's taking a lot longer than I thought it would, far more complex than I thought it would, because every time I want to move anything, now I've got to move these units 250mm to the right, but actually I've got to empty everything out of them before I do it. So we'll get on with that, and hopefully in a couple of weeks time I'll update you with where we are with the room. Thanks for watching. Look forward to seeing you next time. See you soon. Bye.